Well, this is going to be a complicated one, y'all. What's up, everybody? It is the Dark Conservatarian here of Strike Force News, and I am here with the one and only Loudmouth Reviews. Say, what's up, Loudmouth?
Hello. Fuck the Taliban.
Oh, fuck the Taliban. Fuck the CCP. Fuck the Taliban. How many more do we have to add as far as fucks given?
I don't know.
But yes, chaos in Afghanistan, as you all have heard if you're not living under a rock, that is. So, I think what the story was is that originally Trump already had an evacuation plan plotted out and set up for the next administration to just unfold. Excuse me, but to unfold. But Biden kind of rushed it a bit. Do I have that assumption correct, Loudmouth?
Pretty much. That's the thing. The way this evacuation was planned was absolutely a disgrace. Them leaving all those weapons that are now in the hands of the Taliban. Millions of dollars worth of weapons. You should have seen the cachet that they were showing. There were guns piled up on top of guns as far as you could see. All of which are in the hands of the Taliban right now. Whoever allowed that to happen is a fucking disgrace.
Yeah.
But
Hundreds of Humvees and MRAPs, a few helicopters, and I mean, some of the equipment is disabled. It has some flaws to it that makes it inoperable for the near future, but they could potentially just salvage the technology at least and try to make their own versions of it or repair the technology as is and then eventually use it. But the Humvees, most of those that they got, and MRAPs, as I have read, those things are pretty much operable, and so yay, the Taliban has an upgrade to their arsenal.
yeah, that was a wonderful move there. As was leaving a bunch of Americans unguarded there, like running in terror in Afghanistan. The whole thing's a shit show. But at the same time, I kind of agreed with a lot of the sentiments that Biden stated. It was a way of distracting because, of course, the issue was his botched way the way it was done, not really leaving Afghanistan in general. And he was just he was basically arguing against a straw man most of his speech yesterday. But the thing is,
Oh
though,
wait,
even ignoring that, a
quickly,
lot of the things he said were 100% right. We've been there almost 20 fucking years.
right.
Or if they require our air support after this much time, after billions of dollars and 20 years worth of training, if they can't defend it on themselves, then what's the point? We can't babysit them for eternity.
Right. And now, because it's taking us so long to like fully get out of there, my concern is the possibility of them attacking whatever of our guys are left behind as they're trying to leave the place, and then we end up with U.S. casualties in the process of that.
Yeah, and looks like that's quite likely. Keep in mind, no Americans have died in Afghanistan since January 2020.
That's
Not a
what I heard.
single one.
Right. Um. And what was I going to say? Just a note to everybody. I had mostly pre-read about this issue before going on the air here. I got some articles to read, but a whole lot of it was pre-read. But unfortunately, I did not pre-read the little piece of information about whether or not Trump already had a plan. I just heard hearsay mostly about how he already had a plan, but unfortunately, Biden botched it. He rushed it to where that it made all of Afghanistan weak in the process.
But even if it had all been done correctly, yeah, we wouldn't have had those weapons in their hands. Yeah, they probably would have done a better job of evacuating Americans. All those are valid criticisms. But even if everything had been done right, the Taliban eventually taking control of Afghanistan just seemed inevitable because there's so much
Yeah.
corruption in the Afghan government. They were all right. They had plenty of time to prepare for this, literally decades.
Yep. And I guess they were just too reluctant to learn from them damn Yanks or something.
Well, the thing is, a lot of Taliban fighters, a lot of them were just were only there for the paycheck. Well, there was no real firm
Wait,
conviction.
Taliban fighters or Afghan military
Yeah,
fighters?
sorry, yeah, Afghan military. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
The A lot of them were just there for a paycheck. There was no real social cohesion that really kept Afghanistan together. It's been like a very tribal society
Yeah, it's
since
not
as
like
far as I
Afghanistan
can
has their
remember.
own basic training program.
What's that?
I said it's not like Afghanistan has their own basic training program for when you join the military.
Right. I guess like the tribal divisions in Afghanistan really couldn't be mended within a generation, and America couldn't mend it for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing. But the real disaster of this situation is the China factor, because
Right.
the Chinese Communist Party is preparing to recognize the Taliban as the legitimate leaders of Afghanistan.
Not
And
just
they're
that,
probably going to,
also ally up with them practically as well.
yeah,
Send them some
ally
support.
up to them and probably build up Afghanistan's infrastructure through their One Belt One Road initiative, which will basically leave Afghanistan as a Chinese vassal state.
Yeah,
The way a lot of countries in Africa are right now.
they already have a lot of puppet states as it is. Iran, North Korea. I mean, the obvious one, anyways. And I heard that they also have their influences in Ethiopia. Their heavy influences in Ethiopia as
Well,
well.
many different African nations have
Right.
taken Chinese money. China comes in there. They offer like these big infrastructure projects to these poor countries, and they lure them into debt traps. Since they can't pay off the debt for these projects they built, the Chinese Communist Party constantly is able to control them this way, because
So,
since they control the power of the purse in all these countries.
You mentioned something about the Biden speech, something that I want to clarify. So essentially, Biden was responding to, when you say that he was responding to a straw man, he was essentially claiming that his opposition said that we had to stay in Afghanistan for years longer.
Yeah, mostly. That's the thing, and I don't know who really believes that. After 20 years, almost, there seemed to be a bipartisan consensus that we can't stay there forever. It's time to get out.
Yeah, where's all the Bushist neocons out there, for
Yeah,
example?
you don't hear much from them, do you?
Nope, not really. Everybody's all like, "Let's get out of there," but unfortunately, the way it's being handled is a freaking disaster.
It's
Um,
such a disaster. Like I was expecting it, like eventually to fall into chaos, possibly. I at least expected them to hold up for a few months. 3 fucking weeks, man. They just all threw their guns down and ran away.
yup. And I guess that is one of the points being made by some of the people responding to people who are like critical of Biden, is that they're all like, it's not really the U.S.'s fault. It's more of the Afghan army's fault that Afghanistan ended up falling in this short term to Taliban, which there might be a bit of a point to that. But at the same time, and I'm not arguing that we should definitely stay in there, but at the same time, because they feel so emboldened that they do not have some big dog that they're afraid will chew their face off if they do anything psychotic or whatever, like oppressing their own people, that because of that, yeah, you cannot help but feel like somewhat responsible for their emboldening or whatever.
Yeah,
This is my point of view on this.
yeah.
And I guess that's part of the misery from Americans. I mean, not only are they approaching this with oh, we wasted our fucking time. So many of our military men, they sacrificed their lives and limbs and whatnot just for a big fat nothing. But also, at the same time, people are feeling bad and well, I don't know about guilty, but feeling bad that they are starting to oppress their own people again, like getting on a Taliban women's case for not covering their face completely with a
Oh yeah,
full-on burqa.
they've been going. Well, does America have much moral sway on that anymore after the last couple of years? Yeah, I mean, maybe the media will be praising them for everyone covering their faces.
Oh yes, right. Maybe
I mean, it
they'll.
looks like the Taliban were like ahead of the times, just saying everyone should have their face covered up. Looks like that, like they were more prepared for COVID-19 than anyone else in the world.
Right. And hello everybody in the live chat, by the way. JC Armitage, Daniel Hempel, and Night Shift 10,000, and Zachary Colley. JC Armitage says, looks like the state's running out of money to fund the war in Afghanistan. That and or they're planning to use those troops to enforce martial law or vaccine passports back in the U.S. Oh, boy. I sure hope not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what better use that the troops could be used.
The U.S. military suffered probably its most embarrassing defeat in all U.S. history just now.
Mm-hmm.
Our credibility as a global superpower just took a massive hit.
And you know, it's not just that the troops are getting out that makes it look like that we are admitting defeat or whatnot. There's also the fact that at the U.S. Embassy, as I had just read here recently, the Biden administration and the government in general is alleging that they are still planning on keeping relations with Afghanistan and keeping the embassy open. But at the same time, they're lowering the U.S. flag at the embassy. So it's very bad. I don't know. I do not know how to put it. It's just it puts a very bad look to the U.S. I mean, it makes the U.S. look like bigger pussies than...
Oh, yeah.
We already do in some cases, just because we lower the flag of our own U.S. embassy.
Yeah, I bet they're at this very moment laughing their ass off reading White Fragility in Kabul right now.
Right. By the way, is it pronounced as Kabul or Kabul?
I don't know.
Because I hear most people like pronouncing it like you do, including Ben Shapiro, and I just think to myself, cobble, like cobble together, like cobblestone or something like that. But whenever I look at that word, I just can't help but think that the pronunciation is Kabul. But I guess it's whatever.
Whatever.
Doesn't matter of how it's pronounced, really. All right, I'm gonna pull this aside, and I'm gonna go ahead and show the articles just to get my train of thought here better on.
White House concedes fair amount of defensive equipment now in Taliban hands. Yeah, good going on that one, Joe.
Right.
That's probably the thing I'm pissed off most about. It's so disgraceful that this was allowed to happen.
Yeah, if we were
contingency plans, nothing.
If we were to get out, we should have secured that military hardware at least, or maybe better train the official Afghan military better. Well, actually, Afghan military, like you kind of outlined earlier right now, Loudmouth, they don't seem very enthusiastic about protecting themselves or receiving training from the U.S. So maybe we should have just gone ahead and taken away that military hardware from them in the first place, since they're not enthusiastic about receiving it in the first place.
It reminds me of there was this one Jay Leno headline from years ago that said, it says military vehicles disappear after being painted with camouflage.
You know, it makes one wonder, was the official Afghan government actually trying to set things up for the Taliban to come back in?
It's entirely possible, actually, because from what I hear, they were full of corruption. They were essentially just a puppet government propped up by the states.
Yeah,
and it was just what we need to do in the future is if there's terrorists or groups being harbored in Afghanistan or anywhere else, go in there, destroy the terrorists, leave. Don't waste your time trying to build like a coalition government in places like Afghanistan. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It ain't worth it.
I mean, I know that Osama bin Laden, who was the main target, was killed. You know, the leader of Al Qaeda, the people that actually did.
Not in Afghanistan.
Pakistan. Pakistan?
Yes.
The Taliban, as I had read, when they were in control of Afghanistan, they helped shelter the Al Qaeda, though, didn't they?
They did. Yeah. That's why we launched the invasion. You know, we offered actually after 9/11, we actually offered the Taliban an agreement that if you hand over Al Qaeda, that we wouldn't invade, and they turned that deal down, and thus we invaded.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, after 9/11, you couldn't let that go. You obviously had to respond to that. So a massive show of force, attacking Al Qaeda, driving them into the mountains, killing Osama bin Laden, all that was necessary. But
at the same time, You think we did not get hard enough on Taliban specifically, though?
The thing about the Taliban, though, is it's not really technically a terrorist organization. It's never been labeled that by any administration. The Bush administration, Trump administration, Obama administration, none have labeled the Taliban a terrorist organization. They work with terrorist organizations, they harbor terrorist organizations, but they then, in and of themselves, aren't really considered a terrorist organization.
Oh, that's strange. Well then, technically, an official declaration of war would be needed in order to go in and completely wipe out Taliban.
Well, yeah, but then again, how do you tell in Afghanistan who's Taliban and who's not? It's not like the Taliban have green skin and every other Afghani has like blue skin or something. It's not. It ain't so easy. That's the thing. Like a lot of Afghani forces that America were training, a lot of them had like pro-Taliban sympathies.
Yeah, which that kind of comes back to the theory that I was bringing up a little bit earlier. Like, I don't mean to like screw that tinfoil hat on my head a little bit too tight, but it almost goes looking like that because that they were accepting this equipment, but they weren't accepting training from the U.S. for this equipment. They were just accepting it for the sake of eventually getting it in the hands of Taliban. Now, that's what it almost looks like. I'm not stating anything as fact right here, but that's what it looks like it could possibly be to everybody listening. It's just my opinion, though. What next? Actually, I'm going to go ahead and read the chat here a little bit more. Daniel.
Yeah. Oh, somebody in the chat said, Zachary Crawley says, I can see now U.S. withdraws women most affected. They've already been those articles, actually. It was CTV News from Canada actually had an article. Male Taliban fighters rape young women and forcibly marry them. Kill the male civilians. It's the women who really bear the brunt of this. Even though the male civilians are being fucking killed. Seems like the men have it worse.
Jeez. Did you know that the Soviet Union collapsed 2 years after withdrawing from Afghanistan? Says JC Armitage.
Ominous.
Ominous.
Isn't that ominous?
So it's almost like JC is trying to imply that there might be the possibility that 2 years after we have gotten out of here that will completely fall, or...
Yeah, 2023, yeah. Although that could also be a little warning for China. China, don't mess with them, man. Don't fuck with this.
Right, well...
Xi Jinping, you all right.
I don't know. It could be
arrogance blinds you.
It could be just complete coincidence. Like, what would be the infrastructural reasoning as to why that Russia fell in connection to Afghanistan would be my question.
Well, the failure, the wasted resources in Afghanistan did contribute, but it wasn't the main reason. Not even close.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they were. It's not like
being tongue in cheek there. By far, the Chernobyl disaster was a far bigger contributor.
Right. That sounds reasonable. General Miley and the CEO of the Afghan theater should resign along with Biden, Harris, and Pelosi, which I guess that's another question. Because of the fact that military hardware did end up getting in the hands of Taliban, do you think that there is possible precedent for people to be impeached over this?
If we lived in a sane country, hell yeah, we don't.
Okay, so there's precedent there, but is it actually going to happen?
Probably
not really. I got you.
Probably not. In a week, the media will be reminding us, talking about January 6th again and how it was like the worst thing that ever happened in human history.
Remember, everybody, January 6th was worse than Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, worse than Afghanistan, worse than even a full-scale nuclear war would be. It was the worst thing ever.
Oh, brother.
Yes, it was the worst thing since that asteroid that killed the dinosaurs.
Or even worse than the asteroid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a big old T-Rex when he was being mowed over by an asteroid. He was like, well, at least no one stormed the Capitol.
Oh, that image right there, just it's funny to me. J.C. Armitage says, if an organization uses intimidation and coercion for political purposes, that would make it a terrorist group. Fair enough, I guess. Always circles back to... Okay. Never mind.
Give it a rest. I'm sorry, it's very important in terms of current events.
Yeah, I mean, I don't knock on you personally for going on about China as much as you do, Loudmouth, but but yeah. U.S. Navy SEALs took out Osama in Pakistan, says Daniel Hempel. Oops. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, they did. It was in Pakistan. I said that.
Right. So, my bad on that front. Pentagon authorizes another 1,000 troops to Kabul. And obviously, I already read this article. You know, that's kind of the ironic about this whole thing. We're withdrawing, but it's causing us to have to bring troops back into Afghanistan so as to secure an official evacuation.
Isn't it ironic?
Right. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani flees country.
Yes. Yes, that's when you know shit was really getting real, when the fucking president flees the country.
Right. And there was one point in this
country he's president of.
There was one point in this article. Let me see if I can find it. All right. Here is the quote. I think this is from. Oh no, I'm going to read both these paragraphs. Following the initial reports of his leaving, Ghani issued a statement to Facebook. That's a kind of a pitiful way of sending your message, but okay. Saying, according to a translation, today I came across a hard choice. I should stand to face the armed Taliban who wanted to enter the palace, or leave the dear country that I dedicated my life to protecting the past 20 years. The Taliban have made it to remove me. They are here to kill all Kabul and the people of Kabul, and to attack all Kabul. And in order to avoid the bleeding flood, I thought it was best to get out. Taliban have won the judgment of sword and guns, and now they are responsible for protecting the countrymen's honor, wealth, and self-esteem, the president added. Which I doubt they have any even remotely near interest in doing so, Mr. Ghani, considering that they are like being more oppressive to their women now than what you guys were beforehand. First of all, and secondly, the thing that is funny about this, he says, in order to avoid the bleeding flood, I thought it was best to get out. Like, is there really going to be less blood in the streets if he leaves than if he stayed? I don't know.
Probably not, but it was more to save himself.
Taliban set to declare the
Taliban
Islamic.
would have killed him.
Yep. Taliban set to declare the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. China likely to recognize Taliban as Afghan rulers with the fall of Kabul. Yep, yeah. Which is one of the biggest fuck yous that China could ever give to us. But at the same time,
it really is. It's all just to embarrass the United States. That's all. That's the only reason they're doing it. Keep in mind, they didn't recognize the Taliban as a legitimate government before the U.S. invasion.
Yep.
This is entirely to stick it to America.
Right. And I guess it kind of goes to show that we should have, well, I don't know. A lot of libertarians go...
To be honest.
Sorry, what?
I said I would have been surprised if they didn't. There's never... If there's an opportunity to stick it to America, they'll take it.
Well, the thing that I was about to say in relation to this is... we kind of also fucked ourselves over by being in there, and then if we like pulled out, I mean, since the Afghan army was showing little to no interest to learning our ways of fighting so that they could actually protect their country for the longer term than this, so as to make it less of an embarrassing scene in America's image and whatnot. But at the same time, I gotta ask, like, should we have even been there in the first place? So what is, I mean, because a lot of libertarians, they go saying that we shouldn't have been there in the first place, but what's your opinion, Loudmouth? Should we have even invaded Afghanistan?
Like I said, we had to have invaded Afghanistan because after 9/11 we had to respond. We couldn't let a terrorist attack that killed almost 3,000 Americans go completely unresponded to and still remained a credible superpower.
Fair.
Yeah, we absolutely had to respond. We actually had to take it to Al Qaeda. We had to we had to get Bin Laden. We had to get everyone responsible. We absolutely needed to respond to that. It just it was the staying for decades that was the problem.
Fair enough. Also China as well. So JC Armitage in the live chat says the U.S. government, much like the Soviet Union, in the end of its days, is in so much perpetual debt that not even copious amounts of money printing could salvage it. Also, China, as well as pretty much the rest of the world, is also in a similar situation right now, as far as
the debt the high debt situation. Yeah, that could definitely fuck things up in the long run for sure.
right.
That's why I've always said to keep spending under control. But who knows? What was the Babylon B article? Biden to spend $1 trillion on program to figure out why inflation is so high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get into the article reading right now. Actually, maybe I'll save this for next episode or something. But the thing that was a big question in my mind when I was like researching this mostly was, are there American deaths in the hands of Taliban as we are trying to get out of here? Now, I do not know that as of thus far, but this little piece of article right here, Taliban enters Kabul ready for peaceful, quote-unquote, peaceful transfer as U.S. tries to evacuate personnel. Just curious if this goes any mentioning
transfer
of it.
with lots of violence.
Yeah, it was a mostly peaceful transfer, Loudmouth.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what it is.
The Taliban
is fiery, but mostly peaceful.
Right. The Taliban closed in on Kabul on Sunday as the Afghan president fled the country, and the United States continued in their attempts to safely move embassy personnel. After about a week-long military surge that has led to the Taliban capturing nearly all of Afghanistan, President Ashraf Ghani flew out of the country on Sunday morning. Afghan National Reconciliation Council Chief Abdullah. That's kind of weird. Doesn't it remind you of Mario from the Super Mario Brothers movie?
Yes, it does.
Mario? Luigi Mario.
Yes, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing.
Said in the video, paving the way for the Taliban to take control of Kabul. Taliban spokesman Suhail Shaheen told Qatar's Al Jazeera English that the insurgents are awaiting a peaceful transfer of Kabul city, per the Associated Press. The Taliban swiftly defeated Afghan forces in various battles across the country, with some Afghan forces fleeing instead of fighting.
Yep.
Despite the U.S. and NATO spending billions of dollars over the last 2 decades to build up and train Afghan forces, as well as continued U.S. aerial support. On Sunday, the Taliban freed 5,000 Taliban and Islamic State fighters who were imprisoned at the Bagram Air Base, according to Politico, which cited Bagram District Chief Darwish Ralfi. To assist in the withdrawal of U.S. diplomats from the country last week, the Biden administration announced the deployment of thousands of troops on Thursday, following by a second order for additional troops on Saturday. An additional 1,000 troops are being sent to Afghanistan to complement the 1,000 troops already in the country and the 3,000 troop surge previously announced. Excuse me. U.S. personnel are being moved from the embassy in Kabul to the airport to ensure their operations maintain security and safety. Former commander of U.S. and international forces in Afghanistan and former CIA Director General David Petraeus called the situation in Afghanistan catastrophic for the United States and the world, a serious mistake by the U.S., an enormous national security setback on Friday. The success of the Taliban in capturing vast amounts of the country flies in the face of what President Joe Biden and his administration have been saying since the announcement of the planned withdrawal, which is currently only 2 weeks away. So we still have, as of the releasing of this article, 2 weeks to go before they fully withdraw, which was the 15th of this, just 2 days ago of this month. So, yeah.
Yep. Meaning the Taliban will rule Afghanistan on the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Yeah, getting pretty close to it. It's just like 1 week after that time frame, at least.
Yeah.
The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely, Biden said on July 8. Bullshit. Bullshit. They've already captured like most of the country. The rest of it is just going to be slim pickings for them.
Yeah, that'll be in the Poorly Aged Things channel right there.
Yeah. While Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said Kabul is not right now in an imminent threat environment on Friday.
Sure.
They're closing in fast. They're closing in fast, person. And not to mention the chaos and hysteria happening inside there with all the civilians trying so desperately to escape the country on the jets and whatnot. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also downplayed the nature of the situation in an ABC interview on Sunday, saying the U.S. has done what we set out to do in Afghanistan, which he described as to deal with the people who attacked on 9/11, and that mission has been successful. Yeah, that part of it, but the aftermath is what is the ugly part about it. Does not.
Yeah, there was no reason to stay after that. There really wasn't. That you're right. We accomplished our mission, so why did we stay so long after?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we still stayed in for years longer, even after Osama had fled and even was assassinated years after, or years after entering in and whatnot, it still does not free you from criticism of this shit show and of an evacuation or leaving that is still happening right here. He also made another admission in the interview in which he acknowledged the Afghan forces, despite billions of dollars in 2 decades, proved incapable of defending the country, which happened more rapidly than we anticipated. The comment comes after many Biden administration officials have said Afghan forces need leadership to capitalize on the advantages the administration says they have, including in sheer size as well as with the U.S.'s aerial assistance and with the Afghan Air Force. Former U.S. CENTCOM Commander General Joseph Votel told the Washington Examiner previously that the U.S. may have underestimated the planning capability of the Taliban to really orchestrate what it seems to be a fairly effective campaign to get control of border crossings of big cities and to create a lot of pressure and induce panic into the end of the situation. You know, I can't remember where exactly I heard this. I think it was from Ben Shapiro. For some reason, we were not like, I don't know if it's because we were reluctant to get involved sufficiently to actually do this, what I'm about to mention here, or if it's because of the Afghan military refusing help in this area. But there are these situations in which that our boys were not allowed to actually go in person to the Afghan military complexes to sort of help them learn how to actually maintain and repair the hardware that we have given to them, like the Humvees and so forth. So instead, they use Zoom meetings, which that is very fucking efficient, right, Loudmouth? You just point the camera for your little Zoom meeting or whatever towards the area that you're working on, and then you have to verbally instruct them where they have to put what and where, as opposed to a person being present to help along with it.
Hey, it was technology that barely existed when we first went into Afghanistan. That's how long it's been.
Yep, and now and now we're handling issues like this like a bunch of pansies.
But one thing you got to really take note of this whole situation. Remember, a few months ago when Biden said about the gun control that there's no way anyone could take on the U.S. Army. Why even bother? We got nukes and shit. Well, the Taliban, they pretty much outlasted, and ultimately won against the U.S. Army simply by waiting and not giving up.
Right.
So it really does show that a much more technologically primitive and outgunned force can still win simply if you have more will to survive.
Right.
That is how America was founded. We won a rebellion against a more powerful military, the most powerful military in the world at the time, the British Empire.
Exactly.
so this goes to show again just how absolutely stupid Biden's claim is, and you see that sentiment from the left all the time. It's stupid. There's so many historical precedent for why that's false, why that mindset is idiotic.
Yep. By the way, if any of y'all who are still watching and haven't done it yet, but you're liking the commentary being done and vocalized about this issue in regards of Afghanistan, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It helps in the algorithm to spread this video out in people's recommended feed. So next article, I guess. I just have at least 3 more articles. So, well, 2 in relation to Afghanistan, and then this one just because, hey, why not? Because mostly Mr. Merchant, one of my subscribers, he recommended either me or Zachary Colley responded to it. And nanny, Zach, I got to it first.
What's wrong with libertarianism?
Yeah, it's actually more in relation to Christianity. What is wrong with libertarianism in a sort of Christian frame of mind? I mean, I know that you've been becoming less and less sympathetic of, well, slightly less sympathetic of libertarianism recently in regards to China and whatnot, to Loudmouth, but talking about it from a different angle.
Not just China. It's well, business with them is a big thing, but mostly the fact that cabals of corporations seem to be constantly crushing smaller competitors. You can look at the how big tech, what they did with Parler, I thought was absolutely monstrous. The fact that all these big mega companies all coordinate with each other to squash a small competitor. And you're damn right, I think the government should stop companies from doing that. I 100% support antitrust laws.
Do you think that the solution first, I mean, from a utilitarian standpoint at least, do you think that the solution should be first to take away all the loans, bailouts, and other legal protections before we actually take control of the economy?
Well, that too, but I absolutely think the tech industry needs to be broken up, particularly Amazon. Right, Bezos' empire needs to be broken up. He should not be allowed to control the huge portion of the internet cloud and the biggest online retailer on earth and a massive Whole Foods network. One company, one man should not be able to control all that. It shouldn't be allowed. All right, they need to break that company up.
Well, a bit of a subject for to talk about for another time.
Well, yeah, I guess it is a bit off topic, but I'm saying it's kind of why libertarian, total free market, I'm sorry, does not work.
It was just a very quick tangent to talk about. Again, I don't necessarily agree with everything that Loudmouth said, but nonetheless, Zachary Colley, I'm going to go ahead and read what Zachary Colley here says first, and then we're going to get onto the article. So he says, so far as having air quotes to respond, I would argue that not responding militarily would have sent a stronger message, since the honor-shame dynamic of the me entails ignoring them as a way to shame them.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
What?
Did I accidentally do that? I think I may have accidentally. How do I undo what I did? Did I do something?
Message automatically held for review, hidden by Loudmouth reviews.
I didn't mean to do that. I did that by accident. How do I undo this shit?
What the fuck?
Message? I didn't mean to.
Oh.
Let's see. Eat free market, dumbass. I didn't mean to delete your message. If I did. Yeah, I may have. I was scrolling down. I was clicking the blue button to go down. I may have hit it by accident. I'm so sorry.
All right.
He has a right to criticize me in the comments. I will not take that away from him. Not on purpose, anyway.
All right. So, yeah, that
market dumbass. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know about that, Zach. Sure, ignoring can like send some kind of message, I guess, but is sending a message worth just letting them roll over and take and get away with taking civilian lives? I have to disagree on that front, Zach. Just in my opinion, anyways.
3,000 Americans. I mean, I was in math class when the towers got hit. I remember it very vividly. ME
is Middle East, he says. Okay, thanks for clarifying there, Zach. He says, "Meh, I'm always like to respond. What else is new?" In regards of this article that was shared to by Mr. Merchant. He says, "Sorry, but anyone that suggests a government solution to a government caused problem is, yeah. Okay, Zach. Anyway, I'm going to steer away from the live chat here. So, getting back to the subject of Afghanistan, what's an area of agreement? Biden and Trump trade blame on Afghanistan. Excuse me. So, with all the information that we know about the with all the information that we know in regards of Afghanistan, I wanted to give a bit more of a raw reaction to the back and forth between the two individuals, the former president and the current president. In the contentious 2020 campaign for the White House and its bitter aftermath, there was a rare issue President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump agreed on. It was time to get out of Afghanistan. Now, even that uncharacteristic bit of comedy, wait, what?
Commonality? Commonality?
No, it says COMITY. Committee? They might have meant to spell commonality, but they did a big old typo. They're like missing a few letters if they meant to spell that. But anyway, I'll assume that they meant that. Now, even that uncharacteristic bit of commonality has dissolved as Kabul teeters on the brink following sustained Taliban gains, with Biden and Trump and their supporters pointing fingers at each other. The Biden administration has said that the Trump deal with the Taliban was different than the peace agreement they would have struck, but ultimately tied their hands. It was preordained, State Department spokesman Ned Price told reporters. It's a deal that this administration probably would not have made, certainly not in all the detail, but it's the deal that we inherited. When I came to office, I inherited a deal cut by my predecessor, which he invited the Taliban to discuss at Camp David on the eve of 9/11 of 2019. That left the Taliban in the strongest position militarily since 2001 and imposed a May 1st, 2021 deadline on U.S. forces. Biden himself said in a statement Saturday. Shortly before he left office, he also drew U.S. forces down to a bare minimum of 2,500 and imposed a May 1st, 2021 deadline on U.S. forces. So, I don't know. It almost seems like my assumption was wrong from earlier in this episode of Strike Force. It seems like Trump was actually intending for us to get out earlier than what we're actually doing right now. As the date is now.
Yeah, he wanted us out by May.
As the day is now August 17 of 2021 and not May 1st of 2021.
Correct.
So just a little bit of a correction of myself on that part. Shortly before he left office, he also drew U.S. forces down to a bare minimum of 2,500. Okay. We saw the Taliban making advances even before the Biden administration came into office, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said Friday. We saw the Taliban making advances at the district level before the president made his decision. Which my question is, what did you, the Biden administration, do about that? Trump personally struck back at this characterization of the historical record, taking aim at his successor. Had our 2020 presidential election not been rigged, and if I were now president, the world would find out that our withdrawal from Afghanistan would be a conditions-based withdrawal, he said in a statement. I personally had discussions with top Taliban leaders whereby they understood what they are doing now would not have been acceptable. It would have been a much different and much more successful withdrawal, and the Taliban understood that better than anyone, Trump continued. What is going on now is not acceptable. It should have been done much better. When Biden announced in April that troops would depart from Afghanistan by the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks that precipitated the war, Trump called the withdrawal a wonderful and positive thing to do, but criticized the timing. First, we can and should get out earlier, Trump said at the time. He added that September 11th represents a very sad event and period for our country and should remain a day of reflection and remembrance, honoring those great souls we lost. He took credit for substantial troop drawdowns while he was in office. I plan to withdraw on May 1st, and we should keep as close to that schedule as possible, he concluded. So very quickly with the live chat, 3,000 compared to what? Asks Zachary Colley. I do not know if Loudmouth was trying to make a comparison. He was just saying that 3,000 were killed in general in regards of 9/11. I don't know. You want to add some context there, Loudmouth, or what?
I just said 3,000 Americans were murdered. That's all I said.
Okay.
Which is true. On September 11, 2001, the attacks killed almost 3,000 Americans. 2,977, I believe.
I mean, let me put it this way. Even if it was just like 1 dozen killed, well, okay, I don't know. I might be getting a little bit incomparable here, but back in early 2020, I think at max there was like 1 dozen that were killed at the moment with Soleimani's most recent attack on U.S. troops at all, or U.S. individuals in general. And then before that, he had a bigger rap sheet of hundreds of people. I mean, that was a smaller amount than 3,000, and yet we still retaliated against him specifically. So, if you want to draw comparisons, and I think that was completely legitimate for us to strike back against Soleimani, the former, now dead, general of Iran's military. And considering the fact that Osama had got away, or not completely got away because he's dead now, had got killed 3,000 people, that's a lot bigger, and even more so deserved retaliation.
Yeah, he slipped away for almost 10 years. It wasn't until 2011 that he finally met his end.
Okay. I'm gonna leave the live chat alone because it's again a little bit argumentative. I mean, sorry to everybody in the live chat, but nonetheless, I mean, unless you want to address it yourself, Loudmouth, but otherwise I was going to continue on with the article.
Let's see. 10,000. I mean, yeah, I'm aware there's a lot of regulations, but a lot of big companies often lobby the government for those regulations because they know they can handle the cost of them, whereas smaller competitors can't. But that's an off-topic issue, though.
Right.
It's kind of like off-topic.
But Trump,
I am aware that there are a whole bunch of regulations that hamper small businesses, but that's the thing. Big companies play a huge role in that.
I guess for me to say very quickly on that topic, I guess another solution to that, instead of regulating the economy itself, would be to regulate donations that big companies or big business owners can give to politicians to lobby for their sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I would say let's do that and also take out the subsidies and the bailouts, all that other stuff, before having to impose further controls on the...
I mean, I'm all for that, but I also think it is necessary to use the Sherman Antitrust Act to break up Amazon. It's very important.
Well, my opinion would be we would have to see the near future results after doing my approach first before before even considering taking further control of the internet, as you kind of say, Loudmouth.
Not for taking control. I just said Amazon should be broken into pieces.
Well, it's a little bit the same thing, but semantics aside, I guess. But Trump was never able to complete the withdrawal, facing resistance from the Pentagon and some of his own advisors. After then Defense Secretary James Mattis's resignation, Trump ordered 4,000 additional troops to Afghanistan. My original instinct was to pull out, and historically, I like following my instincts, but all of my life I heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office. Trump said when announcing the decision, similar to but smaller than former President Barack Obama's Afghan troop surge in 2009, which Biden, then Vice President, advised against. Trump continued to question the strategy in Afghanistan, and Mattis ultimately departed the cabinet after the two clashed over troop withdrawals. Mattis warned against precipitous withdrawal in 2019, though he has so far remained silent under Biden. Those forever wars have to end. I support drawing down the troops, Biden told Stars and Stripes last year, adding that some forces would need to protect the United States from terrorism. Trump used similar language in discussing Afghanistan and Iraq. Great nations do not fight endless wars, he said in his 2019 State of the Union address. Polling shows bipartisan support for leaving Afghanistan, but as the troops began to leave, the Taliban promptly began toppling provincial capitals, restarting partisan rancor on the issue. I think that's pronounced rancor anyways. The Biden administration ordered 3,000 troops back to Afghanistan to facilitate the evacuation of at least some diplomatic personnel, though they remained adamant Friday that the embassy in Kabul would stay open. And yet you're lowering the flag, so it's kind of bad optics, honestly. It's kind of ironic. It's almost like cognitive dissonance, in fact. We're going to pretend that we're not here, but at the same time, we're going to still remain here. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, a Trump appointee who may seek the GOP presidential nomination, wrote in an op-ed that it appears Team Biden may not have planned adequately. They look panicked. This will embolden the Taliban and encourage al-Qaeda. Now, I don't know about you, Loudmouth, but I do not see any chance of Mike Pompeo even being competitive in a presidential run. I mean, what do you think?
You never know. A lot of shit can happen between now and then.
I guess so, but
I mean, Pompeo was a pretty good Secretary of State.
Yeah.
He did a lot of good, particularly him giving Taiwan more recognition was a very good move.
I mean, aside from Hillary Clinton, how many examples do we have of Secretary of States being notable enough to where they are competitive in a presidential race? Because
you'd have to go way back in presidential history. I probably wouldn't be able to control that off the top of my head.
Yeah, and the biggest reason why Clinton was able to to compete against Trump is not only just because of her being Secretary of State under a then popular president, or a president that is like generally popular with the American left anyways, that being Obama, of course. She was also the wife of a former even more popular president, that being Bill Clinton. I mean,
that was more what she was known for than her work as Secretary of State.
And I don't think I guess people do not much care for her reputation as a senator, but nonetheless. All right, so one person who has been consistent on Afghanistan regardless of which party holds the White House is Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. The Kentucky lawmaker called Biden's withdrawal a risky rush for the exits and said Trump's proposal to do the same would hurt our allies and delight the people who wish us harm. McConnell compared withdrawal under both presidents to the humiliating American departure of Saigon in 1975. Well,
there are a lot of similarities. Actually, this is worse.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, but he's like saying that if this was like completed under Trump, that it would have also been comparable to Saigon in the same way that it is now under Biden comparable to Saigon. And
the thing is, if it had been done better, it may have taken a bit longer.
Yeah, the thing is, we never know, Mr. McConnell. So you're just kind of talking out of your ass, quite bluntly.
Yeah.
All right. Afghanistan withdrawal suddenly becomes perilous for Biden. So obviously people are talking about how that Biden's approval is kind of dropping or could potentially drop because of this. And so I thought, excuse me. And so that's why I pulled this article right here, is to get more into the details of that little facet of this issue. So President Joe Biden's exit from the Afghanistan war has been marred by rapid Taliban gains that threaten to turn the fulfillment of a popular campaign promise into a political liability. Administration officials say their hands were tied within an imperfect deal negotiated by their predecessors that they wouldn't have made. But critics fault the speed and process of the withdrawal, questioning the Biden team's efforts to achieve a compromise between Afghan and Taliban forces while major cities fall to insurgent commanders. By Wednesday night, Biden and his top national security advisors found themselves mulling the deteriorating circumstances inside the country. Within hours, the president, who has stood resolute by his decision since announcing it in April, called for troops to help pull U.S. embassy staff and Afghan allies out, yada yada yada. The decision came under fire almost immediately for seeming to capitulate to Taliban forces. A White House official did not respond to a request for comment. The Biden administration has reduced U.S. officials to plead with Islamic extremists to spare our embassy as they prepare to overrun Kabul, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said in a statement. I mean, if you really actually mean that, you need to show some amount of force to actually do that, not just to say words like, we're going to be very angry if you take that embassy, if you do anything further, Taliban, in Afghanistan. We might not.
I love you referencing Team America World Police right there.
It's mostly the memes that I've been saying in relation to that.
Team America World Police is an all-time favorite comedy of mine, so I always appreciate any reference to that. Give me any idea how fucking busy I am?
Oh, you're very welcome, Loudmouth. The Kentucky Republican has called the negotiations diplomatic carrots and likened the advances to the humiliating fall of Saigon in 1975, like we read in the last article. One analyst surmised Biden's decision was a move to deflect criticism, telling the Washington Examiner that there was no reason to evacuate the U.S. embassy this early. I mean, I kind of agree. Like, even if you were to, like, pull out most of the general military out of an area, I think there might be reason to at least keep a secured embassy within there to continue some form of relations. But instead, that we're doing it all quickly. At this point, I think they're trying to front load the bad press, this person said. I agreed with the withdrawal, but this has been a shit show. On Friday, Biden was briefed in Wilmington, Delaware, by members of his national security team on the ongoing efforts to safely draw down the civilian footprint in Afghanistan, the White House said. Was briefed in Wilmington, Delaware. So apparently Biden is on vacation right now, Loudmouth.
Perfect time for it. I mean, nothing's going on in the world, so why not?
Yep. Don't you understand that the stress of this job just gets to be a little bit too much for an individual?
Yeah, I mean, this job was totally forced on him. It's not like he campaigned on it or anything.
Yeah. It's not like he doesn't have the option for a very, very, very multi-million-dollar comfy retirement.
No. I mean, he needs to, like, take things easy, take a rest, you know?
You know, now that I think about it, if Tulsi Gabbard had become president, for example, I have a feeling that this whole situation would have been handled a whole lot more competently. What do you think, Loudmouth?
No fucking doubt.
I mean, considering that she was, like, what, a fucking major in the Air Force, I think?
Yep.
Right. So a little bit more strategy savvy right there as opposed to Biden.
Biden had no contingency plan. He had no clue what he was doing here.
None at all.
Doesn't seem like his close military advisors knew what they were doing either.
The withdrawal continues to be a good political move. Wait, what? The withdrawal continues to be a good political move for Biden, whose top advisors have promised to deliver a foreign policy for the... Wait, what? A foreign policy for the middle class? Huh?
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, dude, you read my mind. That doesn't make any sense right there. I mean, the only way that it can affect the middle class in a good way is if, like, middle class families have a good portion of them have their families fighting overseas. But that's just not exclusive to the middle class. It's also the lower class as well. So what the fuck are you on about? And also, the withdrawal continues to be a good political move for Biden. What? Like,
how's it a good political move for Biden? Biden's approval rating has been tanking.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to get in here in a few seconds. That will end forever wars and prioritize middle-class economic interests. Oh, bro. Okay, that's foreign policy for the, you know what, why do you label it as foreign policy for the middle class? I think I get the general point that you're trying to make, but that's not foreign policy, air quotes, for the middle class. It's you prioritizing domestic policy over foreign policy. Get articulate. Learn how to use words here, people. A July 6th through 26th poll by the Chicago Council on Global Affairs showed that 70% of voters surveyed said combat troops should leave the country by September 11. According to a Quinnipiac University poll in May, 62% approved of Biden's September 11 deadline, up 4 percentage points from April when an Economist YouGov poll registered 58% support. Huh? It's a little bit surprising. I thought that the approval ratings would have looked a whole lot worse. Like, what the fuck is going on? Do you want to call bullshit on those polls? Because I almost want to do that myself, loudmouth.
I won't go that far.
Suddenly becomes perilous for Biden. I wonder if there's like some extra context in this article that I am like missing out here.
Yeah, gotta protect that opium money. Probably, yeah.
Biden would pay a political price if he were to move away from his decision, said Dan Caldwell, senior advisor at Concerned Veterans for America. Such a reversal would anger not only the most progressive in his party, but would open up lines of attacks from Republicans who believe in a more restrained foreign policy, he said. For years, Biden has proven steadfast in his commitment to leave the war behind, though as a senator, he did join overwhelming bipartisan majorities in voting to authorize the use of force following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. But criticism through the week has grown piercing, heaping blame on an administration that is keenly attuned to public pressure. It is a deal that we inherited, State Department spokesman Ned Price said this week, charging that the administration was hamstrung by former President Donald Trump and that to violate his agreement would prompt Taliban attacks on American troops. It was preordained that a conditions-based withdrawal was essential, taken off the table. I wonder if the fact that this took longer than the original deadline that Trump had set up is part of the reason of why that Taliban is kind of pissed. I don't know.
I think it does play a role. You know, when you set a certain deadline and then you don't do it, it kind of delegitimizes their government.
Yeah,
it probably negatively contributed to the situation just because of that.
Waiting 4 or 5 extra months or something like that.
Yeah, basically, whenever you don't keep your promises, you lose legitimacy.
I mean, I gotta wonder, like, what was Biden's motivation for remaining a whole lot longer than that?
I think it was just because he didn't want Trump to be the one who ended the Afghan war. I think he wanted to be the one who did it on a date he decided. I really think that's all it was. I think he's that petty.
Orange man bad.
Yeah, I really do think he's that petty. I honestly do.
Yep.
Biden is not a good man. He's not.
Yep. Biden's defense officials said the conditions were partly inherited too. We saw the Taliban making advances even before the Biden administration came into office, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said at a briefing Friday. We saw the Taliban making advances at the district level before the president made his decision. The Trump administration made a bad deal if you look at it in a vacuum, but it was a deal that reflected the bad dynamics on the ground. A bad deal that reflects a bad situation, said Adam Weinstein, a research fellow at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft who served as a Marine and deployed to Afghanistan in 2012. The Biden administration went through with the rest of withdrawal because it decided it's in its interest. Trump, for his part, is pointing the finger at his successor for the unacceptable Taliban surge. Weinstein called it baffling that the Taliban felt so confident to just enter provincial capitals in the country while U.S. air power was still inside, with Biden and Trump each carrying responsibility for this. What is true for both administrations is they could have executed their withdrawal in a way that put more pressure on the Taliban by at least creating the illusion that actions would have consequences, he said. All right, I guess I can kind of see the point there. I mean, there's no illusion that actions could have consequences with the current withdrawal that we're having right now.
Yeah.
When we look back at this in 40 years, I think people will say that the withdrawal was the right decision, but that the execution was incredibly poor. Yeah, like, actually, I gotta wonder, since we want to compare this to Saigon, Saigon, was that like the official ending and leaving of the Vietnam War, or do I got my history wrong on that, Loudmouth?
That basically was when South Vietnam fell, but it happened after we had withdrawn. Here it's happened. This is shit's happening before we've even completed the withdrawal, which is amazing.
Oh.
So yeah, this is worse actually.
The fall of, okay, the fall of Saigon happened after we had fully left.
Yeah.
Did we still have military members over there even after we had, like, I guess mostly left? I don't know. I mean, what's with the one Chinook helicopter that left from the top of the building? That infamous picture that I've been seeing rolling around on the internet, comparing it to this situation right here.
Yeah, it was when the last few Americans evacuated Saigon, when the Viet Cong took over the entire country.
All right. But why would the execution be good? The way we ran the 20-year war was absolutely incoherent, he said. Why would the withdrawal be coherent? It's just an extension of a policy that's been a mess from day one. Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis made waves upon returning from Afghanistan in 2012 when he accused top U.S. generals of misleading the public over their failures in the country. Davis said that while a conditions-based withdrawal was not necessary, Washington needed to afford Afghanistan 18, maybe 24 months of continued service so that everybody could catch their breath. It would give the Afghan people time to come to grips with what they're about to be responsible for before they had to actually do it on their own. When Biden made the decision, there was no time at all, he said. Americans delivered mixed messages to their Afghan counterparts in advance of Biden's decision, telling them privately, "Don't worry about it, we're going to stay," Davis said. So when the announcement came, they were shocked and caught flat-footed. And then, of course, we immediately started leaving. The Biden administration has urged Afghan and Taliban leaders to advance a peace agreement, but the prospects for this appear to be waning. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I mean, in spite of what cowardice that the Afghan leaders have been showing, there is still some pissing off and mild instances of violence that they are doing in retaliation to Taliban. So, and plus, Taliban is oppressing the peoples of Afghanistan. So, yeah, they're kind of pissing each other off. On Friday, Zalmay Khalilzad, the U.S. Special Representative for Afghanistan and Reconciliation, said in a statement on behalf of regional and international stakeholders that advances toward a political solution, needed to accelerate as a matter of great urgency. Taliban forces have captured the country's second and third largest cities, Kandahar and Herat, and 14 of 34 provincial capitals, accelerating their advances just weeks before the United States is set to complete its military mission. Let me put it this way. Insurgent groups that capture 2 provincial capitals in one day and then 2 major cities the next day, they're not ready to go to the negotiating table, Weinstein said. You don't negotiate when you're winning faster than you ever could have dreamed of. Biden has stood by his decision, reiterating this week that it is well past time to leave behind the 2-decade trillion-dollar conflict that has claimed thousands of American lives. Look, we spent over $1 trillion over 20 years. We trained and equipped with modern equipment over 300,000 Afghan forces, and Afghan leaders have to come together, Biden said Tuesday, but they've got to want to fight. He added, I think they're beginning to realize they've got to come together politically at the top, but we're going to continue to keep our commitment. But I do not regret my decision. Biden has been skeptical of the Afghanistan mission for more than a decade. While vice president in 2009, he sent President Barack Obama a handwritten memo over Thanksgiving arguing against committing more troops to the country. Okay, I do not know. I mean, I guess I'll give the benefit of the doubt for right now that maybe Obama was the bigger neocon between them two, and I use that term loosely, by the way. I use it he was the bigger interventionist of the two, let me put it that way. Maybe. Anyway, he maintained that a continued U.S. troop presence did not serve American interests on the campaign trail. When asked in a CBS interview whether he should bear the responsibility for an outcome in which the Taliban ends up back in control and women end up losing their rights, Biden said no. And by the way, I also want to add, people, that does not mean that I necessarily think that it's a principled decision as to why that Biden criticized Obama necessarily, but still. Do I bear responsibility? Zero responsibility. What the fuck? That's childish, Joe Biden. The responsibility I have is to protect America's national self-interest and not put our women and men in harm's way to try to solve every single problem in the world by use of force, Biden responded. That's my responsibility as president, and that's what I'll do as president. End of article.
To be honest, that last statement of his, I kind of completely agree with. In a vacuum, I completely agree with that statement.
You don't think it's his responsibility?
To like police the whole world and like Afghanistan, send troops into places where America has no national security interests? No.
Wait. Was that really what he was referring to? I thought he was saying he says he bears no responsibility with the shit show of an evacuation.
After that. I'm not talking about that.
Sorry, what?
I said I'm talking about what he said after that, not that statement.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. After he said, "Do I bear responsibility?" Zero responsibility. Okay.
That's not what I was referring to.
All right. Well, understandable, and I guess the kudos are there. Hooray, everybody, for a moment of coherence on Uncle Joe Biden. Hooray. Anyway. So that's the end of that subject right there. 1 hour and 16 minutes on this show thus far. I might take a look at this article some other time, but I think it might be a little bit pointless. Suffice to say, actually, about this article, I'm kind of surprised that the polls, or at least what Washington Examiner showed right here, that the polls did not look a whole lot worse for Joe. I mean, what do you think, Loudmouth?
I don't think it'll affect Biden that much, but it definitely will hurt his support, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
most Americans were for the withdrawal, you know?
Yeah, we're for the withdrawal, but I thought that the way of handling it was the thing that was pissing everybody off.
Yeah, and I'm sure most people are agree with me that the withdrawal was poorly done, yeah.
And I guess, what did you ever see a clip being shared around of CNN being critical of Biden's handling of the Afghanistan withdrawal?
That's pretty amazing if CNN's ever critical of a Democrat for anything.
Maybe I'll have to go back and actually find it, but I remember it being shared around and title that was being or the text that was being told by the person sharing it was, when you have even CNN criticizing you as a Democrat anyways, then you know you done fucked up, or something along those lines. They did not actually drop the F-bomb, but you get what I'm just trying to say anyways. And hello, Red Feather in the chat. Nice for you to join us. Red Feather says Biden doesn't know how to pull out. I just got one question, Red. Is that an innuendo? he probably should have.
It definitely was.
He probably should have definitely pulled out when it came to Hunter.
Oh, that's mean, dude.
I guess so, but so considering that he's the more scandalous one of the Biden brothers, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, that joke, man. Dude.
Okay, well, anyway, it was just jokes. It was nothing like that serious, but nonetheless. So, anyway, I guess I was kind of expecting that if it was going to be like a bigger suffer on his approval rating, then maybe that would have prompted him to not run for president again. I mean, I guess regardless, he was still not going to end up running for re-election or anything like that. But yeah, if it did end up hurting his approval all that much more, then possibility they would have given the mantle over, or tried their best anyways to give it to Kamala, or I don't know. It was a theory that was kind of rolling around in my head at first, but I guess it's not quite fleshing out to that kind of fruition. But anyway, so to end this off on a little bit of a not as dark of a note, what is wrong with libertarianism? This from ChristianWorldview.net. This was an article that was shared to be my Mr. Merchant, and I think I'll message him on Discord right after leaving this, so as to tell him, hey, I responded to the article that you wanted me to. But nonetheless, here we are, folks. From a Christian standpoint, what is wrong with libertarianism? Let's see what their arguments have to say about that. For some time now, I've been wanting to write a post about what is wrong with libertarianism from a biblical worldview. First of all, it would be helpful for you to see visually a basic graph revealing the current political spectrum. Which, if you take a look at this, I wonder if I... wait, that doesn't pull up the image. That doesn't make it bigger, unfortunately. But if you guys can see it, if you look closely, it shows the political spectrum here. The far left being communism and fascism, that being total government. And then on the far right here, it's saying anarchy and mob rule under total freedom. And I'm just thinking to myself, wait, what? You're going to call mob rule far right? That just sounds like a very, very bullshit political spectrum. I would put mob rule on the left as well as a communism and that sort of stuff, because mob rule...
That's the thing about the political spectrum. It's not really a line, it's more of a circle. Like when people talk about, they taught us in college about fascism and communism being opposites. That's BS. Fascism and communism are actually more similar than they are different, and they are not opposites.
Horseshoe theory?
Yeah.
All right, I guess fair enough, but as far as the mob rule thing here goes, the thing is that communists, they could get their way via mob rule, so that's the biggest problem that I have with this political spectrum right here. So already working off of...
You could argue the French Revolution, kind of the mob rule was kind of like a pre-communist revolution.
Interesting. I'll have to look into
that. In that regard, how it led to like insane mob rule and just paranoia.
Right.
It's the reign of terror.
So already from the get-go, you're setting kind of a bad lead for your article here. But anyway, most Christians who call themselves Christian libertarians... Oh, they're talking about me? Little old me? Oh, thank you very much. Don't really know much about the roots or true ideology of the libertarian political philosophy. They like the idea of small government, reduced taxes, gun rights, property rights, and a free market economy. So far, so good. I'm right there with them. Are you going to mention the social issues and say that it's because of that we do not know of the true ideology of libertarianism? I mean, screw off with that. I'd known that for quite a while. I thought you were gonna like go on about how libertarianism is like really a brand of socialism or something way back.
That'd be stupid.
Yeah, a lot of leftists like to pull that, say that libertarianism started out as a brand of socialism, which I have
Libertarian socialism is like being a homosexual straight person. It's an oxymoron.
All right. The problem
or a religious atheist.
Well, if we were to like use the colloquial, I get what you're saying there, Loudmouth. I get what the point is that you're trying to make there, but there is a bit of a colloquial definition to saying that somebody is religious outside of actual faith and religion. Like somebody could be religious about Trump or any kind of political figure for that matter.
I see. I was just trying to make an analogy of the oxymoron. The oxymoronicism of libertarian socialism.
Right. The problem is in the inherent presuppositions embedded with the libertarian worldview. One of the
religious atheists, so Jane's actually, that's kind of a good point. Yes.
Right.
And Buddhists could also possibly be that. So yeah. All right. Egg on my face, right?
One of the foundational beliefs of libertarianism is the idea that anyone should be allowed to do anything they want as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. All right, yep.
Sounds like a good principle, in general.
Yep. I mean, pretty much. That doesn't mean that they should not be criticized or whatever for what they do. They should be allowed to do it, as in no government or vigilante or otherwise coercion. But yeah, outside of that, that doesn't mean that you don't say that, oh, being gay is bad, if you believe that being gay is actively gay is a sin in your Christian worldview. Ever heard that? That is a libertarian conception of freedom and liberty. That is not, however, a Christian view of liberty and freedom. That is a view of moral bondage. Wait, what?
Moral bondage.
Moral bondage? Bondage to what morals? They weren't exactly espousing any solid morals right there, other than freedom and liberty. I mean, if anything, the moral bondage, I mean, okay, I'm not going to say that this right here is necessarily bad moral bondage, because I am speaking as a Christian myself. But if anything, the real moral bondage is with the Christian worldview about how that we should refrain from lying, from disobeying our parents, from worrying, taking God's name in vain, etc., that kind of stuff. If anything, there's a little bit more moral bondage on that front and other sins that the Bible mentions as compared to libertarianism. So that point doesn't make any sense at all. For example, Thomas Jefferson said, "A wise and frugal government which shall restrain men from injuring one another," in other words, murder or anything else, or assault or anything else relating to that, "which shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned. This is the sum of good government." Thomas Jefferson, 1801. Or, "It is not the business of government to make men virtuous or religious." Righto. I mean, okay. I'm kind of anxious about this article now. I mean, you go citing a quote that you are being critical of, and it opens up with that, saying that it is not the business of government to make men virtuous or religious. Like, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that you do want government to make people religious, Mr. Who's the writer? Israel Wayne? Let's read and find out, folks. "Or to preserve the fool from the consequences of his own folly." Yep, no nanny government. Government should be repressive no further than is necessary to secure liberty by protecting the equal rights of each from aggression on the part of others. And the moment governmental prohibitions extend beyond this line, they are in danger of defeating the very ends they are intended to serve. Henry George. The biblical definition of the role of government is found in 1 Peter 2, 13 through 14. "Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor as the supreme authority or to governors, who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to command those who do right." Oh, God. What if that command goes in conflict? What if the laws being imposed by the government goes in direct conflict with the Bible? Like, say, oh, do not obey your parents, or do not believe in God, or something else like that. Should they still follow that verse right there, that command right there? Or is that one of the exceptions? Is that one of the caveats of this verse? Is my question to you, Mr. Israel Wayne. And also, just because that a verse says that you should or ought to obey your governmental leaders, that does not mean that the governmental leaders should, in the first place, make those oppressive laws. This is cuckoo. The civil government, according to Scripture, is supposed to punish those who do wrong and commend. I said command a little bit earlier. I meant commend, folks. Excuse my autism. Commend those who do right. How do you determine what is right or wrong in a certain society or civilization? You really only have a few options. The majority of people in a society determine it for themselves for that time and place. Cultural relativism, which I am not exactly a fan of cultural relativism. It has to come down to logic and reason as to what is ethical or not. Like, I'm allowed to do whatever I want to as long as it doesn't hurt you in a non-consensual way. Simple as that. At least that'd be a good starting point, anyways. And it's your job, Mr. Israel Wayne, to convince me why that is a bad starting point. It is determined by the ruling elite, monarchy, republic, oligarchy, etc. Which, screw that. Otherwise, that means that Hitler did nothing wrong. And thank you, Loudmouth, for helping me tackle the issue of Afghanistan. I mean, I guess I should have known that this article wouldn't exactly have been of Loudmouth's taste, but to be helping me review. But nonetheless, this is more for me to respond than for Loudmouth to respond. I mean, let's be honest here, folks. Hello, Cat Chat in the chat. She says, God gives us the command to disobey laws that cause us to sin. Exactly. Thank you, Cat. Otherwise, the people in charge are placed there by God, so we must follow the law again unless the law is sinful to follow. All right. Red Feather says God-made laws are different than man-made laws. Precisely. Zachary Colley says, okay, they brought the Bible into it. Let me at him. Come on. Well, yep. Go at it, Zachary Colley. The people in charge don't believe in God. Yeah, what if that's the case, Red? Exactly. The third reason being there is a higher moral law to which all people are accountable. And whereas, yeah, I understand what you're trying to get at with Christian morality and whatnot, but even outside of religion, outside of faith, you could still make arguments for ethics and morals outside of those wedges. This is where libertarianism falls short. Ayn Rand and other libertarians have tried to create a moral order called objectivism. It teaches that you can have a moral law without a moral lawgiver, i.e. God. Libertarianism and objectivism, concepts that are joined at the hip, are both deeply rooted in secular humanism and the epistemology of human reason alone being sufficient to determine ethics. I mean, is that necessarily a bad thing? Despite their protests to the contrary, a pure libertarian can never truly say that anything is objectively right or wrong. Bullshit. That's bullshit. We do say that there are some things that are objectively right or wrong. And the idea that if a person murders somebody in cold blood, like that second person did nothing, absolutely nothing to harm person A, then person A is objectively in the wrong. Based off of secular humanism, objectivism, epistemology, and natural rights and ethics. I mean, you just done screwed yourself over, Mr. Wayne. This is why Ron Paul, whose worldview is libertarian, will not say that homosexuality is a sin. What is this?
The mob. All right, let's shift gears here to another topic.
I'm going to go ahead and listen to this just to see out of curiosity. And look, I have 3 things by Sitchin Adam being recommended to me, one by Ben Shapiro and another by Mark Levin here. But let's go ahead and give this a listen just for the shits and giggles, everybody.
Homosexuality, do you believe it's a sin?
I'm not as judgmental about that because of my medical background. So I don't see it as in that simplistic terms. I think it's a complex issue to decide whether it's sin or other problems with the way people are born.
I just want to say that even if he did believe it is a sin, he probably would still, because of his libertarianism, like a lot of people's political views exist outside of their religious moral framework, outside of their faith. Like with mine, my libertarian beliefs, I base them not purely off of my faith. My political beliefs I don't base purely off my faith. Otherwise, that would mean I would have to advocate for a full-on crusade against the entire world, telling everybody to be Christian. Um. Zachary Colley. Oh, that's what the ping in the Discord was for. It was Zachary Colley telling me on Discord, mind if I come on to comment since this is sort of my turf. You know what? Actually, sorry, Zach. For the sake of consistency, well, I don't know. Mr. Merchant did kind of ask for us both to comment on it, so I guess I'll. All right, Zach. Just this one exception. I mean, generally speaking, this show really is just for co-hosts only, and I have not accepted you as a Strike Force panel co-host. So, generally speaking, I would say no. But the only reason why I'm going to go ahead and give you an invite is because of the fact that you were also requested by Mr. Merchant to respond to this as well. So, without further ado, here's the link. Gave it to you in DMs. Join on whenever you're ready, dude. Never mind. What do you mean, never mind? Like, never mind. Sorry. No. It's, well, I'm giving you the offer right now, Zach. So if you feel like it, mostly because of Mr. Merchant requesting it of both of us, well, then I say, yeah, that's the biggest reason why I gave you the link. I like to hear his thoughts, says Red Feather. All right. Cat Chat says, for most their god is themselves. I guess so. Jesse Armitage says, oh, for fuck's sake, how many times do we have to tell these people Ayn Rand wasn't a libertarian? She supported Israel's warmongering and had no problem with the U.S. government taking land from the natives. I will have to give that a little bit more thought for future reference, but nonetheless, hey, Zach, how's it going? Hello? Zach? I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. Yeah, I really cannot hear you. I can't
okay, here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and I can also hear myself. I'm getting a little bit of reverb.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I really cannot hear you. I can't.
Okay, here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and I can also hear myself. I'm getting a little bit of reverb.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I really cannot hear you. I can't.
Okay, all right. I had my phone on too, so.
It was an infinite reverb, everybody. Well, it sounds like that you got the problem solved, so we are golden at this point now, folks. So now for the first time on Strikeforce News, everybody, we got Zach Squared with us, as we got Zach the Dark Conservatarian and Zach of the Collie Show, or I do not know.
I'm calling it Coffee House Dialogue since, yeah.
All right. So, what do you want to say before I continue on with the reading of this article?
Well, there are several instances in the Book of Acts, for instance, where obeying the Romans would not really work, since that would mean giving up God. There's and there's also sorry, just kidding. And then also if you'll and then also there are some passages where it lists the
Are you getting distracted somewhere on your end, Zach?
No, it just takes a while for me to process my thoughts.
Okay.
Then I think there might be. Let's see. Because, well, like Kat said, if something is sinful, there's no point in obeying it. I mean, that's kind of what. I mean, otherwise, what we say about "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Mm-hmm. Some authorities require that you subject yourself to Islam, for instance, in the Middle East. There's what do you do about that? I mean, there are some instances I mean, of course, people are going to say Romans 13, which the general understanding is that the particular resistance is violent resistance. That's what is condemned. So that's where
it gets kind of murky on when it's right for you to throw a revolution against the government or not.
Right. I mean, there's been debate on that back and forth. I mean, but generally speaking, one of the things that one. All right.
I just gotta say, like you go saying that it takes a while for you to collect your thoughts. I mean, you didn't have this much of a struggle with the Christianity morality special that we had a few months ago.
Yeah, that's because the particular topic I actually studied a lot more in the past. So I had some experience with it. So when it comes to that.
But when it comes to the issue of Christians saying that libertarianism should not be believed because it's not in line with Christianity, you don't have your thoughts in order as much on that front?
I'm still developing as I go along, but as it stands right now, I don't really see a conflict. Especially since a lot of what various governments do are sinful. For example, abortion, murder.
Right. Planned Parenthood, everybody. Hashtag defund Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of those taxes tend to go towards policies that for example, Child Protective Services. I mean, Filthy Heretic and Esso did a video about how the Child Protective Services pretty much arbitrarily took away the kid. How do you go about justifying that?
Prematurely take the kid? Is that what you said?
No, unjustifiably.
Oh.
There was no strong basis for it. It was just arbitrarily done.
I gotcha.
I mean, there might not be a direct verse to disobey, but if you see the pattern of, say, judges, the apostles, and all the others, when it comes to various rulers, they themselves disobeyed unjust laws. There's really no basis to just disobey, There's really no basis to just obey just because they're authorities. Even Romans 13 specifies that the particular purpose of the authorities is to mete out justice. And if there's no justice met out, then what's even the point of obeying at that point?
Romans 13, I might have to go through that chapter sometime. But that's when it goes talking a lot about the role of government as far as Christianity goes.
Yes, that's often the one that's pointed to. Plus, even in the case of when Paul did submit himself to the Roman authorities, he was not doing it because they were just. They weren't.
Right.
He did that because there was no other alternative. Since that was, if Kat wants to add anything to that, she's welcome to it.
So I guess to continue on with the article here, maybe we'll come across some other points in which that'll get you a little bit more passionate.
Right.
Any political philosophy that does not begin with theism, by the way, I'm deciding that we're going to go ahead and forego listening to the entire clip there of Ron Paul, y'all. Any political philosophy that does not begin with theism, a belief in a personal God, as the foundation of all law, will end up eventually in the ditches of totalitarianism or anarchy.
How?
I mean, if we were to legislate purely off of religious law, then that would, ironically enough, in of itself be totalitarian. Like, you're not allowed to. We must censor you if you dare, like, blaspheme the Lord. We have to suppress any opposing religions against the state-recognized religion. So, it's ironic that you say that it's totalitarian for, you know, a political worldview to not have a God as its very basic foundation.
Yeah, not to mention, Jesus himself said, "My kingdom is not of this world." If it were, my disciples would rescue me, basically, but they did not. Plus, we're not supposed. We are in the world, but we're not of the world. We're not supposed to be exerting all our energies into politics. That's not. That's what the Dominionists are basically trying to do, under the false pretense that, oh, we need to control everything before Jesus comes back. No. There's nothing in the Bible that says that. Quite the opposite.
Right.
And that's without going into eschatology, which I've already stated my bias is as a preterist, so. But anyway, you also have to consider the fact that back in the Old Covenant, the conflicting religions were a lot more violent than now. I mean, sure, Islam does express some elements of that past, but still, most religions have mellowed down by that point. And they often treated worship of a different god as in-your-face treason. It was a direct declaration of war, basically. So in that context, the particular Mosaic laws were practical. We can't say that now.
You know, you go mentioning some of this. It reminds me of this one request that was actually. It actually reminds me of the one theology it was in part a theology discussion. It first started off as a discussion about Israel. Then it became about theology. The one live stream I had with Aircraft Sparky and reminds me that Metal Minister wanted to talk to me over voice about what got wrong in a particular exchange between us. Did you see that live stream, by the way?
No.
Zach?
No, I did not.
Well, I think that it would be quite worth your listening. Like, it's about the 1 hour 40-minute mark, I think it was, whatever the timestamp is that I put down in the comments, of when that we actually start the theology discussion. The Israel discussion might not interest you too much, but I highly recommend giving the theology part of it a good listen, and maybe tell me what your thoughts are on it.
Okay, I'll do that in the morning or afternoon, I think, maybe.
All right. Your commentary on the Sparky stream. All right. I was just sending a message there to Metal Minister, but anyway, it is important to view the political spectrum depicted above as a circle. Well, okay. Excuse me. You know there are other graphs out there for you to get your portrayal and what you believe that the political spectrum actually is. You didn't have to stick with the linear one that you showed here earlier, so why did you use it in the first place? I'm confused. Without the restraining influence of biblical morality in our culture, libertarianism quickly turns into anarchy.
Oh, boo-hoo.
They're using the colloquial definition of anarchy too, by the way. I can sense it.
That's pretty dishonest.
I can sense it like a public room pisser with my nose. Which then quickly leads all the way back to totalitarianism. Anarchy is not sustainable for any society, and only order and structural rule can hold it together. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe they were actually referring to the more official or original definition of anarchy, saying that libertarianism quickly turns into non-governmental libertarianism, in other words, which then quickly leads all the way back to totalitarianism.
Well, since that never actually happened, since we never had a libertarian society, the fact that we're asserting that is rather suspect. Not to mention, how are you going to do that when everything's decentralized, essentially? There's no central point of control.
You know, now that you mention it, I do not think there is any example of any society within world history that became eventually a libertarian, say, minarchist society, and then it gone the next step of going into full-blown anarchy. It's more like the opposite. It gone from a libertarian minarchist to some kind of tradcon, or I don't know. It just got more and more and more oppressive to where it gone fascist or something like that. And then, if anything, it went from that point to chaos, and then something else after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be referring to the warlord scenario, since that's one of the go-to responses to wanting a libertarian society, an anarchistic libertarian society. It's like, no, that would essentially be a war on all fronts. Just the logistics alone would be a nightmare for any warlord that tries. Plus, we already covered Taliban whipping the United States, as well as other underdog forces. It's not impossible to repel such forces. So why should we expect anything different within a libertarian society?
Well, I don't know if the Afghanistan issue was much of the Taliban whipping the United States necessarily, but they were like whipping the Afghanistan military, which had U.S. Hardware at their disposal, more specifically.
Well, you get the basic gist, though, right?
Right. I just heard another person join on.
Hello.
Oh, hi there, Loudmouth, again.
I'm back.
I thought maybe you had left because you thought that this article was not really your forte.
No, not really. I just I kind of was tired, but then I jumped in bed. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back on the stream. It's kind of like that.
All right. Cat Chat says the Aussie government is guilty of overreach regarding the virus. But tell us more, Cat. Tell us more.
Overreach when it comes to the virus? Never heard of that.
Right. Many of the laws back then were indeed unjust because it was illegal to be a Christian, and unfortunately, many places today still have Christianity being illegal. Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
including in. I know I said give China a rest, but I'll make an exception here. There's a lot of restrictions on Christianity in China, as well as religion at large, to the point where Bibles have to be smuggled in and house churches need to be formed.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to say on that before I send Loudmouth on a tangent.
I was actually making a joke. I was trying to make a joke. You hear that people weren't in China weren't allowed to even talk to each other in public? Oh, sorry, that wasn't China. It was Australia.
Oi, you got on license for that gobbling, mate.
So I actually was taking a swipe at the. I was trying to make a joke where I took a swipe at the Australian government by comparing them to China.
Right. It's important to view. Wait, I already read that one. There are only two forces that can keep a society from plunging itself off into the abyss of egoistic hedonism, the ethical theory promoted by libertarianism that achieving one's own happiness is the proper goal of all conduct, and anarchy.
What?
Egoistic hedonism. That's not the goal of libertarianism. I mean, the goal of libertarianism is to allow anybody to do whatever they want within their own lives in society. It's not to say that every one of them is gonna want to be hedonistic. Zach, you didn't tell us that you wanted to go in a whole fucking bunch of orgies yourself.
No. Why would I even want to do that?
Apparently,
It just doesn't really sound all that appealing. Especially when I don't know where you've been, girl. Show me the Carfax.
Right, I'm just throwing a shade at this person who just seems to be borderlining strawmanning people like you, Zach.
Yeah. I was gonna say the founding principle of libertarianism is simply don't hurt people or take their stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I generally agree with the libertarian principle. I despise corporate America so much that I do kind of think there needs to be some balance against them.
Here we go.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that, Loudmouth. You're gonna need it.
I guess I will.
The rule of a totalitarian. Okay. and anarchy. Number one, the rule of a totalitarian regime, whether internal as in an oppressive dictator or external as in Islamofascism, or two, individual self-government. Wait, actually, let me reread that. There are only
Self-government?
individual self-government. Let me reread that for the full context. There are only two forces that can keep a society from plunging itself off into the abyss of egoistic hedonism, the ethical theory promoted by libertarianism, that achieving one's own happiness is the proper goal of all conduct, and anarchy. Into the abyss of egoistic hedonism and anarchy. One, the rule of a totalitarian government, or two, individual self-government. And yeah, a lot of people of the more philosophical conservative mindset, like Zach and so many other anarchists I associate with, decide to go for the latter, individual self-government and, well, restraint.
Yeah, there's already a proof of concept, but we have escrows to an extent. I mean, you agree to swap out Bitcoin or Monero for cash, and then one or both of you puts in crypto for the mechanism to be held, and basically making contracts enforceable by mathematics. Basically, if you don't uphold your end, you're not going to get that money back that you put into the escrow. Plus, that whole thing about totalitarianism, that would again assume the warlord scenario, which I already poked a few holes in.
By the way, Cat Chat here, taking it literally what I said earlier about telling us more. She says, one guy got arrested for drinking coffee with his mask off, even though drinking is an exemption, doy. It's like, what the fuck?
Was that in Australia?
Yeah, the Cat Chat is from Australia, and I was all like, tell us more, Cat Chat.
Yeah, it scares me what's going on there. It's becoming like hard totalitarian. It's like North Korea or China or some shit. It's scary.
How on earth can you drink anything when you can't even use your mouth?
yeah, that doesn't even make any sense. How the fuck can you drink with a mask on?
The government is gonna start mandating us to wear full face masks, the mechanical face masks that allow us to drink through it.
I don't know. Yeah, what is it? When people have sex, are they gonna wear face masks there too?
Oh no! Don't give him ideas. Don't give him ideas.
Yeah, but I can imagine them actually. I think there were some people who were saying, some health official. I forgot what it was. I don't know if it was. It probably wasn't Fauci. It was someone who was actually saying maybe it would be a good idea when people hooked up wearing face masks. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Babylon B coming true, y'all.
Yeah, the Babylon Bee couldn't make up something this absurd. I actually kind of stole that joke about Australia from the Babylon Bee. There was this church that was raided in Canada, and there were some images of it, and they posted a headline: the Chinese Communist Party continues to crack down on religious freedom. Oh wait, sorry, that was Canada.
Right. And continue with Cat Chat's chat, and many fines have been handed out to those who don't sign in via the Q code or sign-in sheets. Holy fuck. Register your position here, citizen. Lockdowns in Victoria are on the increase. The fines for not signing in can reach as much as $2,000. Or 2,000 in Australian currency is what she means, and she says that's 1,400 in USD. Search for the coffee arrest on YouTube. Oh shit! Do I really want to?
we gotta now. We gotta witness. Grab the popcorn and witness the fall of society.
Man, with craziness like that, I guess it's too late to say, is everyone insane?
That's what I've been saying all this time. You laugh at me for bringing up China too much, but they really have been importing their tyranny here, all over the world, man. It's scary.
Man arrested and fined $5,000 for drinking coffee without mask. This is, it's not a raw clip, but I guess this is the best that I can immediately find. Is
all right, let's say it.
Rebel News.
Warning. Censorship. Warning.
I need you to wear a mask.
I'm drinking a coffee. I do not have to wear a mask while I'm drinking a coffee. Thank you.
I've watched it 50 times, and each time I watch it, I'm just as shocked, and I'm thinking, what have I missed? What didn't I see the first time that you must have done? But there is nothing in that video. You are completely rational, polite, and doing the... It's not even doing the right or wrong. You're doing the normal thing. Every single person, every single adult in this country, or the majority, drink coffee and can relate to the idea, even in lockdown, walking to a coffee shop, buying a coffee, holding the coffee, drinking the coffee, and you would charge $5,000 for it.
$5,000?
5,000.
Yeah, and who wants to bet that the guy was not even around anyone?
It didn't look like it. I mean, until the police arrived. Said it'd be a bunch of nosy buggers.
Yeah, I've seen shit like that since the pandemic. I mean, I get it if you're like in a really crowded place, like during the height of the pandemic. I understand that shit, but if you're like out in the middle of outside and out and about, who fucking cares, you know?
Yeah, and ironic. And I have yet to see all those Fauci guys go, "Oh, you're putting the police in danger," or the police going, "Oh, you're putting yourself in danger by going near him."
That's Avi Imeni, says Cat Chat. He's a freelance journalist. What, the guy who is interviewing the coffee drinker, or the coffee drinker himself, Cat Chat? Who are you referring to? And she also says he's in Victoria. I don't know if how much further that we should watch this. I mean, particularly, there's gonna be barely any commentary.
I think I've seen enough, but god damn.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I don't want to violate fair use. Cat Chat says yes. The interviewer is named Avi Imeni. All right, thanks, Cat Chat, for sharing us that story.
You know, I was just being facetious. I didn't know it was this bad until now. This is wow,
ridiculous.
More than ridiculous, frightening.
Whoa.
Outright frightening to see a westernized democracy engaging in such thuggish totalitarian policies.
I can see that.
I gotta read this. The Christian concept is not libertarianism, nor is it theocracy. Well, then what the fuck do you want? What is your basis for how the laws be made?
I think that might lean more towards theonomy, which yes, would still base laws on the Bible, but I mean not to the extent of a full-blown theocracy.
Like the Roman Catholic governments of the Dark Ages?
I don't think so.
That would be theocracy mostly.
Right. I mean, I don't know. Like, where they set the boundary just seems freaking arbitrary at that point. If they go saying that we're not advocating for libertarianism, but we're not advocating for full-blown theocracy, of where that they jailed or even burned people at the stake just for blasphemy and even, not believing in God as well. I mean, where is the line? You're being nonsensical the more that I read you, Mr. Wayne, or read your article here.
Yeah, funnily enough, in a decentralized society where people can pretty much where law would pretty much be private, they could go sign up for a pretty much a community voluntary law, where there's basically a contract that you sign, which would be based on what God expects as per the Bible.
Are you talking about like a Hoppe and Covenant community?
Pretty much, yes.
All right.
A freaking vast. Okay. All right. Anyway, yeah. So that would be if you want a society based on biblical principles, you could always form a libertarian society and pick communities of that bent. I know I would.
Yep. The Christian concept is individual self-government. How's that different from libertarianism? I mean, I gotta ask, like, what what is the concrete difference between what you're proposing right here that people should follow versus libertarianism, Mr. Wayne? I haven't heard it yet. You may say,
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Apparently I spoke too soon. He says, you may say, but that sounds like what libertarians want, the ability to govern themselves. Yes, exactly. Yes, but the difference...
This article is just kind of confused and like meandering. I don't know. I don't get what this article's even trying to say.
I don't either.
Well,
it's just a kind of a request by a subscriber of mine, Mr. Merchant, and so
Mr. Merchant, yes, I just noticed that in my server.
Give like a reaction.
Actually, I just noticed the ping on your server moments ago. I was not aware of it since I have not used Discord in a while.
Yes, but the difference is that they have cut off the source of all objective moral ethics, i.e. God. Bullshit. The objective moral... Okay. Again, they're saying that the only way that you can draw objective moral ethics is from God. I mean, even if I was to like lose my Christianity tomorrow, I would argue have an objective moral ethical system outside of what the Bible says is wrong or right. There's a quote that is often attributed to James Madison and equally disputed that I think sums up this idea quite well. We have staked the whole future of American civilization not upon the power of government, far from it. We have staked the future of all our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to control ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the 10 Commandments.
How would that be impossible? How would that be impossible in a libertarian society? You would still have that option.
And I wonder if what context that James Madison was saying right there. Was he saying that that's how that we legislate is according to the 10 Commandments? Or he's just saying that people have the ability to base their own personal lives, their own self-governments off of the 10 Commandments?
Yeah, also it's kind of ironic for someone that advertises themselves as being more of a Christian mindset, very rarely do they reference the Bible, which is a bit of a red flag.
Right. I mean, I don't mention the Bible ever when I go on an abortion debate against somebody. Just as an example, in the libertarian view, abortion, drugs, well, abortion, not all, but drugs, yes. In the libertarian view, abortion, drugs, prostitution, illicit sex, including homosexuality, pornography, and suicide are all morally acceptable. Or at least ethically acceptable, to get the language right.
Well, this is like a moral equivalency of all those things, like a long list of things you can like debate individually.
Perhaps. They have within their epistemological system no mechanism for denouncing these actions.
What actions?
The actions of drugs, prostitution, abortion, and illicit sex, pornography, and suicide. We do have our pieces of logic to denounce pornography and suicide, for example. Suicide, no, you got a family to take care of. You got people who love you. Please do not take your life. Just as a starting point right there. And pornography, it's not healthy for your life. It's not healthy for your mind to be consuming pornography, if at all, but definitely not in obnoxious, gluttonous amounts or whatever.
Yeah, plus if that turns into an addiction, which it often does, that would often result in a violation of the non-aggression principle by proxy. So there's that.
No mechanism for denouncing these actions. Well, maybe they're trying to say that there is nothing within the ethical system of libertarianism to denounce these actions. Yeah,
that does seem to be their angle.
I'd say that they're not.
Seems to be it's kind of an old adage of where do our morals come from. It really doesn't have much to do with libertarianism. It mostly seems to be attacking secularism.
Perhaps, but secularism and libertarianism are not inherently inclusive of each other, though.
Yeah, they're not.
As if the prevalence of state theists is not a big enough indicator. A lot of these atheists are socialists, not libertarians.
Right.
Kyle Kulinski, for instance.
Oh boy.
He openly cheers whenever the government uses its hammer against people that refuse to associate with a particular practice, while being willing to commission anything else.
You watched that recent response video of Philosophossums, didn't you?
Yeah, I watched that.
Well,
Yeah, he explained of how he was like pissed with Kyle.
Yeah, I was particularly ticked off as well. I mean, like,
Kyle's
if
always
this were the
been
other
a
way
pig.
around, his tune would change quite a bit.
Right.
Plus, now that he's on record saying stuff like that, if he's going to expect help from Christians later on, no.
That's gonna be
You
a
had
big
your chance, Kyle.
That's gonna be a big point their finger and laugh at him, whether or not they actually help him.
Yeah. Oh, you're complaining about Sharia law? Well, maybe you should not have burned that bridge with us, Kyle. You're on your own.
yeah. I've already done the joke about Sharia law covering people's faces. How barbaric, but
Yeah, that was a good one.
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Anyway, a culture who embraces these things will not last long. Well, libertarianism does not say that people should do those things. It's just saying that there should be no laws or any kind of coercion against those things necessarily. This person seems to be acting like legally allowing something is just a blatant condoning or endorsement of those actions, which that is just a bullshit straw man right there, quite frankly. Like, they did not explicitly say that, but I get the implications that they are arguing based off of a straw man of libertarianism right here.
What else is new?
Pretty much, and like I said, most of the criticisms seem more towards secularism than towards libertarianism.
Right.
And I've always said, like, Karl Marx and Ayn Rand were both atheists, and their kind of personal philosophy towards liberty were completely diametrically opposed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really nothing within being a secularist or an atheist that really makes you for or against libertarianism.
Right. These are the steps to anarchy and ultimately to tyranny, the very thing libertarians are hoping to escape.
What tyranny? Give an example.
Probably what you said earlier, the warlord argument, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, even if never mind. That'd be a long tangent for me to mention. I'm just gonna continue on. We're getting a little bit long with this episode, anyways. A little bit longer than I thought. 2 hours 11 minutes. Anyways, the only real solution is that people's hearts must be changed, which you don't need to go anything opposite of libertarian in order to do that. By the Holy Spirit, through the hearing of the word of God as it is faithfully proclaimed by the true confessing church. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I actually agree. There is
not in conflict with libertarianism, Mr. Wayne. Yes, people should be given political freedom and liberty, but without ethics that are based in the fear of the Lord, that freedom will quickly dissolve into anarchy and hedonism, as we are observing in rampant expansion in our culture. Again, nothing in conflict with libertarianism. You are not. That doesn't mean that a person cannot call themselves a Christian libertarian like me or Zach here do. Yeah, so anyway, libertarianism cannot provide the utopian dream of the good life because it is disconnected from the only source of all good, which is God alone.
Well, there's nothing stopping God from acting within such a society towards that goal.
It's a philosophy. It's a philosophy of how men should govern each other. It doesn't really say anything about how God should govern us if He existed.
No, not at all. I mean, are they seriously suggesting that God is somehow weak depending on the society? That would be downright heretical.
Yeah, logically, any being who could will the universe into existence would probably look at our little laws and philosophies like us observing an ant farm.
Right. Cat chat in the chat. It was this is like the longest time that you stuck around listening to one of these shows, Cat. I guess must have really touched on a topic she holds close and near and dear to her heart. She says it's always a bad idea to tell your kids it's bad to do something purely because it's illegal. What happens when that thing becomes legal? Well, you gotta find another reason. Using the Bible as a foundation negates that problem.
Exactly.
Yep. There are also other secular reasons that I'm sure that Loudmouth here would proudly go on about as to why, for example, not to be consuming obnoxious amounts of porn, right, Loudmouth? What are you?
Uh-oh.
What are you, some big time coomer, dude?
No.
Are you tubing?
I'm joking around. I'm fucking around.
It's fair. Libertarianism, which is not rooted in Christian thought. Sure, it's not rooted in Christian thought per se, but nonetheless, a person can still be a Christian and a libertarian at the same time. Wait. I gotta reread this because that fried my brain just seeing that. Libertarianism, which is not rooted in Christian thought, but rather in the anti-Christian Enlightenment.
What?
Wow, this person really wants to set society back hundreds of years.
I mean, with that line of rhetoric, yeah, Loudmouth. Like, how is it anti-Christian? And how is the Enlightenment anti-Christian?
I mean, men of the Enlightenment often did propose ideas that were considered heretical at the time. So I wouldn't call it explicitly anti-Christian, but there was kind of a move away from kind of orthodoxy.
Yeah, it would be anti-Roman Catholicism at most, or it'd be anti-theocracy at least. But inherently,
this person is just like medieval. You know, this person.
I mean, not to mention, there are Christian philosophers like René Descartes, for example, from the Enlightenment, or close to it. Then there's Leibniz, from which we get the Leibnizian variant of the cosmological argument. I mean, it's not like, I mean, there was a mixture of both Christian and non-Christian there.
Right. Libertarianism, skipping that parentheses, could only work for a Christian society that is guided by the fear of the Lord. That is not our current cultural situation. Well, the thing is, those are like two different debates. How you govern yourself as a society and as a country is different from how do we get everybody to become Christian and to abstain from sin. More talking about God, says Night Shift. Yes, we're talking. We're responding to this article here.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, are these guys dominionists? I mean, I'm kind of getting that vibe.
I've never heard of dominionists. What is that basically?
All right. Basically, it's the idea that that Christendom should, or what they think is Christendom should take a hold of all the spheres of influence. The best way I can explain it is DM you a source that explains the Seven Mountains mandate that they supposedly got. Okay. Even though that runs contrary to Jesus saying, "My kingdom is not of this world." I mean, they're going in. If they are dominionists, they would be going in direct conflict against the Bible, which would be ironic considering what they're arguing. All right, I've copied a link from gotquestions.org, I think, and
most of those verses were added in the Bible because they wanted their new religion to be accepted by the Romans.
X'd out. I mean, do you have a source for that?
Not off the top of my head, but it's something that historians speculate.
What historians?
Again, top of my head, man. I would have to dig it up for a while. I don't know if I. But
it might be a subject for another time. I mean, yeah. I kind of saved the whole argument about private internet companies and how those should be handled, or the further expansion of that debate for another time. So we're Just
The
gonna
whole Sherman Antitrust Act.
right.
I'm kind of with Josh Hawley on the matter.
Zach. Wait. Oh, Josh Hawley. You're talking about the Republican senator. My bad.
Yes.
At first, I thought you were trying to refer to Zach Colley, and I was like, did you just twist his name or something? Never mind.
No.
Joking around. Anyways, statesmen, my dear sir, may plan and speculate for liberty, but it is religion and morality alone which can establish the principles upon which freedom can securely stand. The only foundation of a free constitution is pure virtue, and if this cannot be inspired into our people in a greater measure than they have it now, they may change their rulers and the forms of government, but they will not obtain a lasting liberty. They will only exchange tyrants and tyrannies. Letter from John Adams to Zabdiel Adams, 21st June 1776. We have no government armed with power, capable of contending with human passions, unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, revenge, and licentiousness? How is that word spelled right there? Can you see it, Zach?
Licentiousness? Okay, licentiousness?
Licentiousness.
I don't think I've ever heard of that word.
Neither have I.
Is that an English word?
And by the way, good night, Red Feather. Thanks for tuning in when you did. Avarice, ambition, revenge, and licentiousness would break the strongest cords of our Constitution, as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. John Adams, 11 October 1798.
Yeah, look where we are now. Sin pretty much crept into it anyway, regardless of any input from the church.
It's like the person is trying to say that if you convert from being a Christian to becoming an atheist, therefore you're more likely to contribute or be of a less of a constitutionalist mindset. Which can you even substantiate that claim right there? Like there might be a bit of a correlation, but correlation doesn't always equal causation. Just quite frankly.
No.
As Bible-believing Christians, we will agree with classical libertarians incidentally or coincidentally, but we do not do so epistemologically. We run on parallel tracks, but we have neither the same starting point nor the same final destination in terms of our goals. We both want liberty, bullshit, but for vastly different reasons. Both libertarians and Christians seek liberty, but liberty is inextricably joined with law. Libertarians are not enamored with law. Al Cronkite. Well, kind of a differentiation here with Zach on my part anyways. There are those libertarians who consider themselves constitutionalists and believe in a rule of law of sorts, and that's not to say that morality should be based on law, more like the law should be based off of morality or ethicality, let me put it that way. And that whatever further legislations or workings are done within government, it is restrained by the Constitution, for example. I get that's what I get they mean by rule of law, instead as opposed to rule of the majority or the few or whatnot. Anyway.
Well, yeah. But people always find a way to mess it up.
Yeah. As Christians, we need As Christians, that's a weird wording of a statement right there. As Christians, we do not abandon God's law, but instead we seek to have it written on our hearts. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. 1 Peter 2:16.
That's straight up slander there, using the Bible that way.
I mean, God, I feel like I'd be repeating myself if I responded to this verse.
Oh,
I mean, how many?
Oh yeah, I would.
How many Christians are saying I'm allowed to sin here because of the freedom that is afforded to me within society?
Nobody. I mean, the only people that I can think of are antinomians, but then they're heretics, so they don't count.
Right.
the easy beliefist, Steve Anderson. It's like, I mean, plus you have to remember, libertarianism is a recent concept, so this verse would not even apply. Plus, and even if it did relate in some way, I mean, the basic concept here is impertinence to the atonement. It has nothing to do with government.
Hey, by the way,
it is a relatively recent concept. I mean, tyrannical societies have just been largely the norm throughout human history. Like, more free societies have always been the exception.
Right.
And even today, the number of like totalitarian dictatorships in the world far outnumbers the number of democracies.
Yeah. Oh, and before we continue, what verse was it again?
What verse was what? The last verse I was read is 1 Peter 2:16.
1 Peter 2:16. So, do you mind if I read some of the verses around that?
Allow me to finish off this article first of all, and then you can go ahead and do that. It's just one more paragraph. My goal here is not to tell you which political candidates to vote for or not to vote for. I'm also not directing these statements toward any particular political candidates, but rather at the entire philosophy as a whole. My goal is to help you to understand those issues from a biblical worldview. End of article. Except, here's the thing: you're trying to argue that there is a contradiction in being a Christian and a libertarian, but you're doing an absolute fail of a job at it. Is the thing, Mr. Wayne. But,
all right, may I?
Yes, go ahead, Zach. And then there's like some chats here from Cat Chat that I think that we'll address very quickly, and then we'll go.
All right. To summarize some of the verses before that, basically Peter is saying that because Christ has shown his mercy and basically brought us into his fold, into the covenant, we are also called to be holy. We are basically freed from the particular freedom they're referring to is basically freedom from condemnation. So in light of that, chapter 2 starts by saying, so put away all malice and deceit and hypocrisy and envy and all slander. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, that by it you may grow up into salvation, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. As you come to him, a living stone rejected by men, but in the sight of God chosen and precious, you put yourselves like living stones are being built up as a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. For it stands in Scripture, behold, I am laying in Zion a stone, a cornerstone chosen and precious, and whoever believes in him will not be put to shame. So the honor is for you who believe, but for those who do not believe. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense. They stumble because they disobey the word, as they were destined to do. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Beloved, I urge you, as sojourners and exiles, to abstain from the passions of the flesh, which wage war against your soul. Keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of visitation. And it goes on to talk about submission of authority, but you get the idea. Peter's basically telling people that because your sins are atoned for, you need to act like it. Basically, that's all it is.
So the context that they're saying freedom, they're meaning freedom from damnation, as opposed to freedom from tyrannical government.
Precisely.
All right, so yeah, the person taking the verse out
when
of
it comes to
context.
the Bible, I guess.
Sorry, what? What, Larmouth?
You seem like you know your stuff when it comes to the Bible.
Well, I have one of my many Bibles on hand to reference to make it easier to relay the message. So,
Gotcha.
Um,
I find there's a good wealth in studying the Bible, the Quran, and all kinds of other Greek mythology, Norse mythology, what have you. I always find studying religious works to be interesting.
this
fair
guy,
enough.
this guy can go on for hours about Greek mythology, schooling us on that subject. It's really fun to listen to, and epic as well.
Zeus ate his first wife.
Right. And his first wife was well, actually, I was about to say was his aunt, but at the same time, who isn't related to each other within the Greek gods?
Oh yeah, incest is prevalent. Like Persephone was conceived after Zeus was going after Demeter, his sister, and she takes the form.
Oh wait, hold on, I messed up. I think I messed up there. I forgot.
Hey, Zach.
That part about submission to authority.
Zach. Loudmouth, go ahead and finish your point very quickly, and then we'll.
It wasn't really much of a point. It was just kind of an ancient story.
Okay. What was your point?
It involves Zeus taking the form of a snake to seduce his sister. It's a messed up story.
Right. You were saying though, Zach?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I messed up on the verse that they mentioned, because the rest goes, "Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme, or to governors set by him, to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people.
Wait.
Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover for evil, but living as servants of God. Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor." Now, okay,
Oof.
so I guess that's the context behind the verse they mentioned. But again, how does that translate to libertarianism necessarily condoning the things that are evil?
Oof. We kind of just made our own point moot right there that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
At first we were all like, they took the verse out of context, and now we're all like, oh no, they actually did have it in
yeah,
context.
I was the one that took it out of context a little bit, so my bad. But again, that would assume.
Shame.
Yeah, but again, how does that imply doing evil? I mean, you could form institutions in a libertarian society, a decentralized society, that are not government authorities, but still authorities, and subject yourself to those.
Right.
Plus, there's still the matter of civil disobedience in the case of sin, like Kat mentioned.
Right. I have some live chat comments from Cat Chat. I was wondering if you wanted to address them, and then I think we'll go here, Zach.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cat Chat says, if you go from believing Christianity to being an atheist, you weren't Christian to begin with. I am firm in the camp of eternal security, meaning once saved, always saved.
Same here.
Those whom are truly saved don't fall away. She also says, if your mindset is, I can sin because I'm saved, you're not saved. And then, of course, she quotes the same verse that the article did.
Yeah, precisely. And there, Paul even said, rhetorically, are we to continue in sin so that grace may abound? By no means. And even that part about 1 Peter that I read even talks about that. Like, you were atoned, and the atonement pretty much wiped the slate clean, so act like it.
So if a person originally was well, I use a term loosely, born a Christian, well, okay, they were raised a Christian, and then they got even baptized at a fairly older age, like sometime in the teenage or early adult years and whatnot. But they later on then even gone sort of doubting their own faith and essentially no longer believing in God. Then it's excuse me, in your opinion, they were never really believers? They were never really saved to begin with?
Well, what was their foundation? That's the key.
If you were taught it throughout your childhood, but you started to doubt it as you got older, you read the science and just didn't match.
In other words, they had no real foundation other than mommy said so. Is that what you're trying to get at, Zach?
Well, if you only really believe because you're told to, you're just going through the motions. How would that be any different from not being a Christian at all at that point?
Okay. What if a person expands off of what they were taught as a kid, as far as
the vast majority of religious people maintain the same religion they were raised in their entire lives?
Doesn't matter.
Like the vast majority.
Doesn't matter. If the foundation is that, and only that, then without anything else, it may as well just be going through the motions. It does not matter whether they cling on to it. It's the foundation itself that's the issue.
Were you about to say, Loudmouth?
I'm kind of tired. Yeah,
okay.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks for joining on, Loudmouth. I don't know of how confrontational he was trying to be with you right there and just mentioning that. Honestly, Zach, I'm not trying to say that you did anything bad, but nonetheless, I think I don't think he was trying to be confrontational by saying most people who were born in religion.
I did not get that either.
Oh, okay. When you said doesn't matter, I was all like, what's going on here? I don't know. Maybe I'm the one being retarded. See, I'm kind of retarded.
Yeah, I have ADHD, so I guess I'm technically retarded.
All right. So we also have some things. Going on back and forth between Night Shift and Cat Chat as far as discussions of religion goes. But I think we're just going to. I think we're gonna cut it. We're gonna call it quits right here because we have been going on for a little over 2.5 hours, and I don't want to go on too much longer. Otherwise, if we address the chat, it's going to be another 30 minutes of trying to dissect things.
Yeah,
so,
not to mention, I generally don't really understand much of what Night Shift says anyway. It's like,
oof.
What are you even talking about, man?
Maybe I ought to host a religion discussion with both you and Night Shift on the same call.
Oh boy, that'd be fun. Oh boy.
But anyway, so thank you all for joining here in this episode of Strike Force. It was a very, very good one, especially when me and Loudmouth were getting all witty and breaking down of the Afghanistan subject. We've done that. I guess maybe you guys have done that before, Zach, as according to Night Shift in the live chat.
What? What have I done?
He says we've done that. I think he's referring to religion discussion panel.
Oh, I think I know what he's talking about. There was something at Capistania Lounge that we did briefly about supposedly Mithra or something like that, which left me going cringe. I forget the particular what it was we were talking about, but something along those lines, I think, or maybe it was about holidays. Something just it was goofy.
Yeah,
between us.
But because I do not know how to wrap up a live stream for the life of me. Continuing on though, for everybody in the live chat and watching this live stream right now, between Cat Chat, Night Shift, and Zachary Colley, who might want to exchange ideas of religion with each other, y'all are on the same Discord server, in my Discord server more specifically. If you want to continue the conversation, do it in there, because pretty soon the live stream is going to be done. But again, thank you all for joining whenever that you did, and sticking around as long as you have. For those troopers who like to listen to this cringy nerd ramble on about subjects, by this I'm meaning me, but nonetheless, don't forget to hit that like button if you like the commentary. And next Friday, or this Friday rather, I'm going to be having Aaron of Re-Education on the YouTube channel to debate about capitalism. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, that's gonna be a dumpster fire.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, Nate says that he's a cool guy, but I don't know. I guess I'll have to find out for myself come Friday. But Friday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That is the schedule that we have thus far, unless something further pops up that causes us to have to reschedule or whatever. I was originally going to have Gabby, but apparently she was unable to make it. But so I'm going to have the other lefty on it instead that I wanted to discuss about the subject. So stay tuned for that. And all other things being, I say, God bless you all, stay safe, and have a good night.